now that we've been, face to face, and if I'm there, and I gotta put you away, I'm not gonna like it. But I tell you, if it's between you and some poor bastard whose wife you're gonna turn into a widow, brother, you're going down. You want to protect and understand the guilty. This rotting society. What it calls rehabilitation. Nothing short of compromise. There are people in here with more extreme behavior than mine, Doctor. But they're not famous, are they? You want to know about Rorschach? I'll tell you about Rorschach.
For God's sake, why don't you stand up and fight this guy hard like you done before? That was beautiful. But don't lay down in front of him like this, like, I don't know, like some kind of mongrel or something. Because he's gonna kick your face in pieces, you know that? That's right. This guy don't want to just win, you know. He wants to bury you. He wants to humiliate you. He wants to prove the whole world that you was nothing but some kind of freak the first time out.
Left you. You never did anything wrong, you know. I used to try to forget you. I used to try to pretend like you didn't exist. But I can't. You're my girl. You're my little girl. You meat-headed shit sack. It's more or less a thing. And I want you to go out there. You and nobody else. And your little minions. I want you to go out there. And I want you to punish the person who's responsible. There are times when I look at people and I see nothing worth liking. I just want to make enough money to get away from everybody. I see the worst in people, Henry. I don't need to look past seeing them to get all I need. I've built up my hatreds over the years. Little by little. You know what really gets me, though? Here I am. I mean, I gotta live in this stinking town, and I gotta read in the newspapers about some hotshot kid who starred the football team over there in the college, and every year it's gonna be a new one. And every year it ain't gonna be me.
It is not easy to tell the truth. But if there's to be any salvation for Germany, we who know our guilt must admit it, whatever the pain and humiliation. I had reached my verdict on the Fellenstein case before I ever came into the courtroom. I would have found him guilty, whether the evidence proved it or not.
I couldn't believe how closely you resembled each other, both facially and physically. Then I wondered if I actually fell in love with you. That maybe I had been programmed by the amount of media she garnered, that I'd been exposed to into a visceral reaction when I saw you. Like advertising a really nice pie, over and over. Will, sooner or later, cumulatively build up a desire for that pie. You and that pie.
You know how quickly the boys found you. How those tedious, sticky fumblings in the backseat of cars. while you could only dream of getting out. Getting anywhere. Getting all the way to the FBI.
He will come to death an image of splendor of the kings of men in glory and dim before the breaking of the world. But you, my daughter, you will linger on in darkness and in doubt as the nightfall in winter that comes without a star.
Nazis ain't got no humanity. They're the foot soldiers of a Jew-hating mass murdering maniac, and they need to be destroyed. And that's why any and every son of a bitch we find wearing a Nazi uniform, they're gonna die. Now, I'm the direct descendant of Jim Bridger. That means I got a little engine in me. And our battle plan will be that of Apache resistance. We will be cruel to the Germans, and through our cruelty, they will know who we are.
You might have noticed, Wood, all the folks in these pictures look a little bit poorly. That's because all the pictures were taken after they died. We felt the need to keep them with us, just like I'm trying to do now. Those were the fallen. All I'm praying for is to keep them with us. All my life I stuck to the good Lord's word, to his practices, and all I'm doing is what he's commanded of us. And I'm going to try to convince you to help me do the Lord's bidding. We thrive on negative criticism. It's fun to write and to read, but the bitter truth we critics must face is that in the grand scheme of things, the average piece of junk is probably more meaningful than our criticism designating it so. But there are times when a critic truly risks, and that is in the discovery and the defense of the new. My father did not care for music. He wanted me only to be a merchant like himself, as anonymous as he was. When I told him how I wished I could be like Mozart, he would say, "Oh, why? Do you want to be a trained monkey? Would you like me to drag you around Europe doing tricks like a circus freak?" How could I tell him what music meant to me? Even then, a spray of sounded notes could make me dizzy, almost to falling. Well, we used to think you knew. The first bombardment taught us better. It's dirty and painful to die for your country. When it comes to dying for your country, it's better to not die at all. There are millions out there dying for their country. And what good is it? You've asked me to tell them how much they're needed out there. He tells you, go out and die. Oh, but if you pardon me, it's easier to say go out and die than it is to do it. And it's easier to say it than to watch it happen. There they are. Big balloon people, because I found them 2 weeks after they'd been under the bed. Neighbors reported the smell. There they are. I'm just sitting there. They don't have anything to say. They just look at each other. They look at me. That's it. That's the dream.
Last line, he's got the department stores. Now he's after us. Why? Oh, well, it's very simple. See, we're cutting into his business. That's why. And because he wants to keep you living in his slums, paying the rent he decides.
So I guess this is where I tell you what I learned. My conclusion, right? My conclusion is that hate is baggage. Life's too short to go around pissed off all the time. It's just not worth it.
There were no preliminaries. Just standing there, the scent of dead insects and cheap perfume. I went ahead and did it just the same.
And on this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces
for that inch. We claw with our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's gonna make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying.
Should have taken care of me just a little bit, so I didn't have to take those dives for the short end money. You don't understand. I could have had class. Could have been a contender. I could have been somebody instead of a bum. For instance, tomorrow morning, I'm gonna get up nice and early, and I'm gonna walk down to the bank, and I'm gonna walk in and see. And if you don't have my money for me, I'm gonna crack your fucking head wide open in front of everybody in the bank.
But this time he got mean. This time when he came home late at night, she wasn't worried about him or jealous. She was just enraged. She accused him of holding her captive by making her have a baby. She told him that she dreamed of escaping, that was all she dreamed about. Escape. She saw herself at night running naked down a highway, across fields, running down riverbeds. Always running. And always, just when she was about to get away, he'd be there.
Thank you for being someone I was always proud to be with. For your guts. For your sweetness. For how you always looked. For how I always wanted to touch you. You were my life.
You have the look of a man who accepts what he sees because he's expecting to wake up. Ironically, that's not far from the truth. Do you believe in fate, Neo? Why not? I know exactly what you mean. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What that something is, you can't explain, but you feel it. You've felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there. Like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is that feeling that brought you to me, Neo. Do you know what I'm talking about?
And I'd sell that Benedict Arnold, Adam Davies, into white slavery if we lived in a place that had a market for it. And Lloyd, that little queen, who I welcomed into my home and I allowed to play with my children and care for my dog, and who left me for those two scumbags? I would tie him up, and I would allow the entire Screen Actors Guild to anally rape him if it weren't for the fact that I know he would enjoy it. I guess you all know that McDonald's fries have a smell and a taste that you can't confuse with Arby's or Wendy's. Burger King, a fat burger. But when you get over there, it's a totally different situation. I mean, you grow up real quick because all you're seeing is a lot of death. And I know some of you guys are going to look at the uniformed man and you're going to remember all the films and you're going to think about the glory of other wars. Think about some vague patriotic feeling and go off and fight this turkey too. As your leader, I encourage you
from time to time, and always in a respectful manner, to question my logic. If you're unconvinced that a particular plan of action I've decided is the wisest, just tell me. But allow me to convince you. And I promise, no subject will be taboo. There's a flip side to that coin. What if you do got me boxed in? And I gotta put you down. Because no matter what, you will not get in my way. We've been face to face, yeah. But I will not hesitate. Not 1 second.
Old man came running after us. He was crying. Couldn't see. We went back to the camp and they had come and hacked off every inoculated arm. They were in a pile. A pile of little arms. And I remember, I cried. I wept like some grandmother. I needed to get a good grade in this class to get into law school. And so I had to resort to rock bottom. Seduction. And not the get in bed with me, but more the, hey, I've baked you a bunch of brownies style.
Our lives are never happy. Because in the end, everyone you have ever loved, who has ever loved you, who has ever touched your meaningless and pitiful life, will be dead. Dead and gone. So you go through life pretending like the life-crushing events that bombard you don't happen, and you look forward to your trip to Hawaii, or your new car, or the latest show on TV.
They said, we'll have to look into that. And I said, yeah, there's not really anything to look into. I wanted this girl, and she left me. She left me. It's nothing to look in. And he said, then why were you so intense? And I said, because I wanted the girl. And he said, we will have to give you some medication or something. I said, I don't want medication. I want the girl. He said, well, we will have to work on that. And at this point, I grabbed the fire extinguisher from the casement and I struck him in the back of the neck.
200 people, 200 jobs, $200,000, 5 weeks of grind and blood and sweat depend upon you. It's the lives of all the people that you've been working with. You've got to go on and you've got to give and give and give. They have to like you. They have to. Do you understand? You can't fall down. You can't. Because it's because your future's in it and mine. And everything that all of us have is staked on you. Now, he was born to a 3-legged bitch mother, and he was always ashamed of this. And soon after, he was adopted by this man, Tito Leibowitz. He's a small-time weapons dealer and a Rottweiler fight promoter. And he put Killer in training. Yeah, and Killer got good. He got real good. But then he had the fight of his life. He was pitted against his brother, Nibbles. I'm in the taxi cab and I hear on the radio.
And I get there and some guy says plane's from Boston, and another guy says there's 2 planes. Then I go inside the airport. And I'm watching. I'm watching on the television. And I saw it. I saw it and I felt it at the same time.
All you do, you get an idea. You set down what you want to say on paper. Then you hire someone else to fill in the commas and shit where they belong. If you're not positive yourself. Maybe fix up the spelling where you have some tricky words. Although I seen some scripts, man, I know the words weren't spelled right. There are hardly no commas in it at all, man. So I don't think that's too important. Alright? You get to the end, you write in fade out, you're done.